That's what it is.
There you go.
Yeah. You
Good
got
noise.
Yeah.
Good noise.
it. Now just do that late at night in the day.
I have actually. I've
Do
definitely
that,
messed with
do
some
that.
friends with that before.
Yeah, do it to yourself.
So you knew about that before even watching this movie.
Who doesn't know the?
But did you know that it came from The Grudge?
Yes, I didn't know that.
Okay. You hadn't explained that beforehand.
Sorry, when you asked what do you know about this film, I assumed you meant like what do you know
The
about
actual
the plot,
movie?
and not like do you know one of the most like iconic Japanese horror symbols in the world?
When you didn't bring that up, I assume you didn't know it.
Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to the Hit Play Podcast.
Howdy.
We're the Hit Players.
Yeah.
That's
Whatever.
James. I'm Isaac, and that is Claire.
Hello, I go by Claire now. What the was
It's a
James is
premonition.
over there just messing with.
was that you
Messing
just like
with us.
kicking the little thing down there?
Yeah.
Whew. All right, that's good.
That was a little creepy. Yeah.
That genuinely
Um,
scared the shit out of me.
Apologies in advance for how I sound. I'm currently fighting. I have a little cold.
Yeah, we got a little sicky boy. We got a little freaked out girl. We got James.
James is the control group of the podcast.
Yeah, as per usual.
We just got done watching. Sorry. Juan. Is that how you pronounce it?
Or The Grudge if you're American.
Or Grudge?
The Japanese
Well,
The Grudge.
I'm trying to be,
Yeah.
trying to be cultural
No, I understand. I appreciate it.
in the original pronunciation.
Mhm.
Anyways, we just done watching the 2002 Japanese film called The Grudge. Apologies for butchering the Japanese. I do not speak Japanese. This was a movie that came at the request of one James Harding.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's me.
yeah, it's horror and a foreign film, which is like
The perfect
both
combination.
Venn diagrams
Yeah.
of James's being just perfectly.
Take 2 shots if you're playing that game.
Yeah. So, James, why did you want to show us this movie?
I was surprised that you guys hadn't seen it. Because we are talking about doing scary movies for Halloween, and I brought up Japanese horror, which is a subgenre on its own.
Yeah.
But the fact that you guys don't have much experience with that genre for the most part.
Not in the visual format. I've read some stories and some manga and stuff. But
Yeah, I read Death Note.
Yeah,
that doesn't count.
I'll count it. I've read Death Note
It's
too.
got a spooky guy.
It's a little.
He's just a little spooky guy. He's a little spooker.
He's a little.
Anyway, I watched these movies when I was very young, when I was a kid. The
Yeah.
American ones, I'm
The
realizing.
one with Sarah Michelle Gellar.
You are obsessed
Who
with that fact.
I
but
went
yes.
into the 3 days. Well, I mean, you're Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Sorry. Just hits a different soft spot. She's also Daphne. So, she's
You
played
can
two.
say you just thought she was hot. It's okay.
She's played 2 iconic roles in my childhood.
Yeah.
For 2 different reasons of. Anyways, I went into it thinking we were watching that version for the last 3 days or whatever when you said you wanted to watch this movie. So 30 minutes before you showed up, he's like, "Oh, we're watching the Japanese one," and I went, "Oh, cool."
Was that
All
when you
right.
learned there was a Japanese version?
Yes.
Or
Yes.
You didn't know that, actually?
No.
That's funny.
Yeah. I'm not as cultured in the Eastern arts as you gentlemen are, I'll admit. So,
Gentlemen?
sorry.
Well, I knew that there was a
Learning
Japanese one. I think I just was shown the American ones when I was a kid, regardless.
sense.
Mostly because you're a kid. Your
Yeah.
parents aren't going to have you read subtitles, unless,
Yeah.
of course, you're my dad.
Well.
Yeah.
Just give you a dictionary. Figure it out.
But I remember being thoroughly scared when I was a kid watching these.
Gee, I wonder why.
Well, okay. I say thoroughly scared. I was at least at the age where I knew that they were movies, and I knew what that meant.
Yeah.
Which is that they weren't real.
This mother.
Well, okay, obviously, when the ghost pops out at the end and she kills the people, and then
Yeah.
you turn to your dad and you're like, why does she kill the people? He has to come up with some explanation for that. But, like, at that point, I had seen, like, Jurassic Park, so I knew that dinosaurs weren't real.
Wait,
And-
dinosaurs aren't real?
Sorry. And I had seen, like, Star Wars, and I knew that, like, Luke didn't lose his hand, you know? Spoiler.
Wait, he
alert.
didn't lose his hand?
Yeah. So like,
You're shaking my whole world right now, bro.
Snipe kills Dumbledore, by the way.
Snipe.
God damn it.
Regardless, they did leave an impact on me. Nevertheless, you know,
Yeah.
there are certain scenes in those movies that I remember pretty thoroughly. The elevator scene gets recreated in the American ones. I remember that specifically. I remember more from the sequel than I do from the first one, however. But regardless, I'm not a super big J horror fan personally. I respect it, but I haven't gotten around to watching a lot of it, mostly because, similar to you, I have read most of it.
Yeah.
Through manga. Junji Ito, I think, is
goat.
the staple name. Death Note as well. We'll throw that in there, sure.
The Dark Souls adaptation.
Yeah, they don't-
The ending of Naruto.
different kind of horror on that one.
Bleach. But regardless, this was your guys' first time watching it.
Yes.
So I had asked you previously what you knew about it. What did you know about it beforehand, other than the most infamous sound effect, which is part of the reason why I was pissed off that there were subtitles on top of the subtitles. But that's nevertheless.
A little behind the scenes for you guys. We turned on subtitles because we assumed that the movie didn't come with any because,
Yeah.
Japanese film.
Yeah.
And when we found that it did have subtitles, James had a slight little moment where he was like, "We have to turn the subtitles off."
He waited until I got up to go blow my nose.
He, like,
and then he
reached
grabbed the
over.
remote.
It
Turn
was
the subtitles off.
because you didn't mention that you knew that sound effect. And so when the Amazon generated subtitles showed up only doing sound effects, I was like, we got to turn these off. It's going to spoil it for you guys. And it ended up not spoiling it at all. But for a
Well-
moment there, I had a conniption because I was
Also-
like, this is.
What's really funny is that like we turned them off and they were still there.
Yeah. It's just so stupid.
Jeff Bezos, like, no, fuck you guys.
Yeah.
You guys have to listen.
And like they were really like they're really random. Like they really
Yeah.
weren't
It was
helpful.
just noises.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, because it
Weird.
wasn't every noise. It was like every like fifth noise. They were like, "Oh, that needs a subtitle." I'm like, it really doesn't.
Yeah.
Anyway, movie.
What'd you know about it beforehand?
Yes. So obviously, before even like anything, obviously I knew the spirit. Everybody. Well, I assume everybody has an idea of what.
The
The
long
Grudge
black
spirit
hair,
is, yeah.
sickly looking.
I think she gets mistaken for the ring girl
Yeah.
a lot. But like that, white dress, long black hair over the face,
Kayoko.
pale.
Or
Um,
Kayako.
yeah.
Kayako is her
It's just
name.
it's very iconic.
Yeah.
And so like I knew about her, and obviously I knew the which will be picked up by the mic maybe. Have fun with that.
The
Claire.
grudge noise.
Yeah, the grudge noise. But I ended up watching, I think like a year and a half ago, maybe. As I do, I watched like a synopsis. It just popped up my YouTube recommends, and I was like, yeah, sure. I've heard about this. I'll give it a shot. So like, I just kind of knew like the very, very underlying story because like
Yeah.
everything that happens in this, I didn't remember. And I was like, oh, I know like how the spirit supposedly happens, but like, shrug emoji. So I was basically blind. I just knew the
Bless you.
Bless your face.
Oh, thank you. Sorry.
Your turn.
Do you want me to sneeze again?
No.
What are we doing here?
What did you know?
I knew nothing. I knew nothing. The only thing I knew was the American version starring my girl. And that's it. Like yourself, I knew of I told James that there was a text chain when I was in middle school of
Yeah.
the Grudge girl. It was
my
literally
God.
it was literally, did you have that too?
I think so, yeah.
Where it was like you have to send this to 7 people, otherwise you're gonna die in a week.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I totally challenged those. I didn't send them to anybody.
I don't think I ever did either.
I didn't
'Cause
have I didn't even have 7 friends.
I didn't have enough people to send them to. I was just like, I'm gonna die.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Or the ones on YouTube that was like, repost this comment on 5 other
Yeah.
videos.
Yeah.
Yeah. I fell for those.
keep scrolling if you
would, yeah.
if you love the devil. Share and like if you love Jesus.
My
I love those. Those
My
are so
grandma shared a couple of those.
Those are so funny. I love those.
Like if you love Justin Bieber. Comment if you like One Direction.
Yeah. Yeah.
Rest in peace, Liam. Anyway.
Yeah.
Um.
F in the chat.
So having watched it now.
Yeah.
Do you guys feel like it has earned its place as a classic of J horror? Would you feel like it's, more so just its reputation that has grown over time? Did it actually have any? Was it scary?
Mhm.
Was that an answer?
No, I was just like affirmative.
Okay.
Like to your, I feel like because like I was scared, obviously, but like we know that I'm a bit of a crybaby. And figured I'd be nice for myself. I have to go back.
I was not going to.
But yeah, like so I was kind of scared, but like I feel like it's hard to determine if it's a classic when we don't really know a whole lot of the moderns. You know what I mean? Like I can't be like, okay, well I can see like Alice in Borderland, I think it's Korean actually, but it's the only thing I could think of off the top of my head where it's like, oh, I can see like the connection.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Where like I can see people like watch this.
It's
and,
influence.
Like,
Yeah.
the influence from it. That being said, I think it's just a horror movie in general. I think it deserves it as being a classic. I feel like it's
Every time you do that, I think of the noise.
that's why I'm so good at it. I just draw my
You're
us out.
You're
freaking
gonna
yourself,
have
you're
to
freaking
edit
yourself
out.
out.
You're gonna have to edit out every single one of those,
Am I?
unless you want to freak yourself out.
I don't be like 7 in the morning.
Continue with your story.
proactive with their editing process than mine.
But where was I? Something about it being the classic. Yeah, I feel like it shows its age every once in a while.
It's from 2002.
Yeah, it's 2002. But like it just, I'm waxing poetically. Somebody take this away from me. I don't know.
Isaac.
What movie aged worse, Fast and Furious or this movie?
Which Fast and the Furious?
The first. I think the first one came out in 01.
What were your thoughts?
On this movie?
Yes, sir.
It's a movie.
Didn't hit for you?
Not quite the same. Not a big psychological horror kind of guy, which I think this is more or less of, even though there are a lot of scary parts, like when it gets... There's a specific scene. I don't want to spoil it
There
for
were
people.
some parts that seemed like it got
But-
to you. Even from the side of the couch, I could
Yeah.
feel.
There was a lot of creepy parts, I'll admit, where I'm like, that's weird.
There was one
The
time.
being walking around on all fours throws you off a little bit, but, also throws me off in I Am Legend, starring Will Smith. So,
It just don't look right.
There's your influence for you.
yeah. But in terms of it being a horror movie and like would I rewatch this or where would I put this in the rankings? It didn't hit for me. It's quite the same. I don't know for what reason. I really can't answer anything why. Maybe it's because we went from the absolute peak of this genre last week to this. Maybe it's because I'm not really that well known, like I said, in the Eastern culture, like you guys, you folks are.
Weeboos.
So yeah, I don't know what it is. Maybe I'll learn to appreciate it in like 2 weeks. But
Let it marinate a little.
no, that's not to say I didn't enjoy this movie. I think this was a very fun movie. As the ice maker, why is it always when the scary movies happen that where the ice maker goes off?
I don't think we're zoomed in enough, but you can definitely like. I don't know if you saw it, but like I definitely felt my eyes like widen. Stop. Such a prick.
But yeah, I don't know.
I feel like watching this movie now, you can see the blueprint for jump scares in movies like Insidious, which I think during our Conjuring podcast, I brought up how the, ghost just lingering in the background every now and then was something that Insidious did that I think would definitely be influenced from The Grudge.
Yeah.
Rewatching this, you can't deny that that's absolutely
That was
something that they
I
did.
was going to actually ask you about that. Was if the person who wrote Insidious
James
ever
Wan.
mentioned that they had like any influence from it, because you could see like from what you talked about with Insidious, I was like, wow,
Yeah.
this is like exactly what you were describing, but it came out.
I
like,
don't
10
even
years
think
earlier.
you even need to have verbal confirmation from them. I think
Fair.
it's fairly
Fair
obvious when there are, basically direct parallels.
Peak
between the two of
influencing
them.
peak.
Yeah, basically, But that's more so just going back, watching this, having seen those movies, because while I think those movies took the jump scare factor from this, they didn't take, I think, the creepiness factor.
Yeah.
And people often contrast Japanese horror and American horror as being different, where I don't know if I've ever really bought that before. People will often say that American horror focuses on jump scares and then Japanese horror is creepier. I don't think that's necessarily true. There are plenty of jump scares throughout this film. It got to you guys.
Yeah.
They didn't even need creepy music for some
And yet
of it.
they still had it, and it still
And they still had
all
it.
it did was add to it.
But the creepiness factor, what parts did you find creepy, or how did it create the creepy
The
atmosphere?
goddamn little kid.
Just showing up
I mean,
every now
that's the
and then?
creepiest part to me.
Yeah.
Is the first couple of times you see him, you're like, kids aren't supposed to be that pale. What's going on here?
I gotta give them credit, because like there was obviously this movie's terrifying to me. Partially, I think the sound design was a huge part of it. The music and like the audio cues and stuff were like really, really, really well done.
Yeah.
None of them were overstaying their welcome. Everything was exactly as loud or as low or as droney as it needed to be to like set the emotion that you needed to have.
Yeah.
But it really gives credence to the fact that the ghosts are literally just people painted white.
Yeah.
Like there isn't really any like special effects on them. I mean, you know, there's moments and stuff, but like the actual costume design is just a person painted white. And that is the scariest damn thing.
Yeah.
Like,
I think that there's
oh my
science behind
God.
that too.
So I think that's also like where it comes from, because like looking at The Conjuring, right? Because I thought Conjuring was pretty creepy.
Pretty.
Cut to I peed my pants last week.
Well, I meant like in terms of like not just jump scare. But
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
you know,
yeah. No, I know what you mean. It's just funny for you to be like, it was pretty creepy.
yeah, like
In
clinical
hindsight.
about it. Yeah. But yeah, so like contrasting the appearances of the ghosts in those two things, right? The Conjuring ghost is very like ghost, you know, like
Yeah.
it's all like disheveled. It looks awful. There's a lot of like CG around it. Its face is all messed up.
It's like a hobo from 6th Street.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's a little rude to the hobos, but yeah.
Have you seen some of them?
Whereas like the Grudge ghost is just so like simple, but like that makes it so much worse because when it does things that like you don't want to see people doing, yeah, like
Yeah.
Walking like the Exorcist.
It gives it a feeling of like tangibility to a degree.
Exactly,
Uncanny
yeah.
'Cause
Valley.
you feel like it's actually in the world.
Mhm.
It's kind of similar to something like, this is gonna be a weird comparison, but Inception, when Leonardo DiCaprio is having the freak out scenes with with his ex-wife. Have you seen that movie?
I have not seen this.
Oh fuck! I just spoiled Inception. Anyways,
It's okay. We won't watch it.
No, we will.
no, we should definitely watch it. It's so good. Just cover your ears real quick. No, I'm just kidding.
All right.
How have you never seen Inception? That's besides the point.
I
Keep
don't-
going.
But anyways, you know what I'm talking about. Those
Yeah, yeah.
scenes where he has with the wife, where she's not there, but
You're
it
trying
just
so
feels,
hard not to
it's-
spoil
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. It just feels. You
James
feel,
knows what you're talking about.
You feel a certain weight to it.
Yes.
Is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And I feel like you have that same effect in this movie, where at the end when the 6 things come out
Yeah.
and start chasing our main protagonist, it's kind of like, yo, you better not trip up those stairs, girl. Like
Yeah.
they're gonna come get you.
I definitely think the element that separates Japanese horror from American horror, by far the biggest contrast between the two, is the fact that Japanese horror nails the uncanny valley far more accurately than American
Mhm.
or even European horror filmmaking.
I think that's what I was trying to get at.
There's definitely, I think definitely there are some films from Europe that I think nail the extremity more. And I feel like America is more the jump scare itself. But I think for Eastern horror and Japan specifically, it's that human but not human element
Yeah.
to it. That is just, that they perfected that
Yeah.
in a way, You look at movies like The Ring and Pulse, where it's like there's just that like you recognize it, but it's not doing something that a human is supposed to do. The way it's walking, the way it looks, its skin color, something like that. That's just what, for some reason, American producers were like, yeah, just make them, jump scare them. And that's all that we need to do.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think that when people say that Japanese horror is creepier, quote unquote, than American horror, it's really that uncanny valley-ness that they're talking about.
It's more
like-
relatable.
Yeah. I don't know if I would
Relatable.
consider you can call it going relatable, but yeah.
No, you can relate
don't
to
know.
a humanoid form versus
Oh yeah, okay.
a blob.
That's
of,
the point is you recognize
yeah.
it's human.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What
I
was
took
your
what you
point?
said and paraphrased it.
Yeah.
Your joke, but worse. No.
It's almost like, like when like you see like a person, you're like, oh, I kind of get them. Like I understand.
Yeah. Yeah, precisely.
Yeah. And then that person goes into a hole in the wall and they don't become a person anymore. It's creepy.
This is my hole. It was made for me.
As you got to read that.
What?
If you haven't read anything by Junji Ito, you really should. Those stories stick with you. I lost my train of thought. Anyway, what was your
Let's
next
talk
question?
about the directing.
Yeah.
Not a well-known director in America, but he did direct, and I'm sorry that I'm not saying his name because I don't remember it off the top of my head. The same director of this film directed the American remix as well, interestingly enough.
Yeah.
Probably explains why it's so 1-to-1. Same guy.
Is it? So I've heard.
I
If
mean, you were-
they're- what were you going to say?
I said, did you watch that, right?
No, I watched
Oh.
it.
I know of it.
Yeah.
I knew of it.
So
James watched it.
Sorry, I got my wires crossed. Too busy thinking about a ghost woman who's going to haunt me in my sleep tonight.
Anything about this movie's directing that stood out to you guys? For me, it was a lot of the like zoom ins and close ups, not just as we were talking about with The Conjuring, the idea that you would even zoom in
Yeah.
feels so out of place in 2024 or whenever The Conjuring came out. But there was quite a lot of it in this movie, and it didn't feel out of place.
No, yeah. I think also the framing was
Yeah.
big.
A lot of emphasis on heads.
But just like, what was I going to say? There were really subtle things that the actors were doing that I assume the director had a hand in it.
Such as?
Like, just like facial tweaks.
Mm.
I noticed a lot of where like somebody will like, do something like that. Or
Twitch.
for audio listeners, James was twitching. Or just like subtle like body motions where they'll just like kind of do like a tilt. And I'm like, yeah, that could be actor, could be director. It's kind of like unsure of like who did what on that. But
Well, they're
like,
probably communicating.
yeah, well, that's hey, I need you to do X, Y, Z kind of thing. It's almost like that's how that works. But prick. I'm sorry that I didn't go to film school and I don't know how to verbalize this better.
You're good. You're learning.
Sorry,
Oh.
neither do we sometimes.
Yeah.
Fair. But yeah, there was just like really subtle things I feel like that I can tell was like, okay, this is somebody outside of just the actors themselves saying like, here's what you need to do to make this look really good.
Yeah.
But what did that do for you? Was that just like enhance the performance or the characters, or did
Yeah, I
it
mean,
add to the
just the-
creepy element?
How many times I gotta say this movie scared the shit out of me?
Well,
But you felt it was a more palpable reaction out of the
Yes.
characters with the twitching and the
it
Body
feels,
language.
It makes the people feeling scared actually feel real.
Yeah.
And I talked about this a little bit last week with
Yeah.
like the child actors and stuff, and like being able to nail down those like screams.
Yeah.
A lot of people when they're scared kind of go mute. You know, some people scream, some people just kind of like stand there, right? And this movie had a lot of that, where it was a lot of people just kind of like freezing. The light breathing, yeah.
Light breathing.
And like, I feel like that was just,
it probably helps too that they had something
There.
Yeah.
to react to.
Another
right?
actor.
Yeah.
something practical
I mean,
effects.
we mentioned it last week with The Conjuring, where I said, the little girl getting dragged across the hallway, that was real. They set that up for 6 people, so the mom
No,
and
it
dad
was
being
real.
like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa!" was probably somewhat of a real reaction when a chair is flying over her head.
Yeah. Now, there are a lot of characters in this movie. Was there a particular actor or character that stood out to you?
I mean, I don't remember names, man.
The only one I
me-
remember is I think it's Rika. This is the main
Yeah,
lady.
she's the main character for the
main-
most part.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, the one we follow the most.
What stood out
who-
to you about her?
Nothing really. That's just the only
She
one I
was just
knew.
around the most. Yeah. The student
Izumi.
Izumi. Yeah. I think she did a really good job.
She was also a standout character for me.
Yeah, she
too.
was incredible.
Yeah.
I like the detectives too, just because like they weren't around very much, but like I just felt like they were just like a very good like early 2000s
Japanese detectives.
Yeah.
I honestly, I'm not gonna lie. When the detectives came on, I felt we were watching a Persona movie. I was like, oh hell yeah!
They sit Rika down like, you must have had help. Who did it?
Jesus.
Arcana
Cue,
pops up.
cue the Persona 5 interrogation room theme.
Anyway,
Persona 5 playthrough win. Just
God.
kidding.
That'll take so much longer than Alien.
That'll take us like 7 years.
anyway,
Here's Wonderwall.
here's Wonderwall. Was there element about, say, cinematography that stood out to you guys? This movie takes place in like 3 locations.
Yeah,
Yes, it really doesn't go anywhere.
And 2 of them are different rooms in the same house.
which is what I love when a horror movie does that.
But for the most part,
Give me a
this-
place.
whether or not this is just how we approached horror in 2000s, or whether this was a Japanese thing specifically, you don't really get the like horror ambiance that we're used to with modern sensibilities in horror films like Insidious, where you can just go into your color grading and just mute everything,
yeah.
lower the saturation. These films are pretty bright for the most
Yeah,
part.
that's what I was going to point out. Is like there's a lot of moments where this movie is like incredibly bright. I mean, like,
Does that
half
add
the-
to the horror to you?
oh yeah,
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 seeing that little kid in the window reflection.
You don't feel safe
yeah, exactly. Like,
Yeah.
because you're so used to bad things happening at night.
and then like we as humans associate bright colors with harmless. It's a thing in all nature because like we associate with harmless. A lot of things associate it with harmful, but like that's just not how humans approach things. Looking at like poison dart frogs and stuff. So like you see a girl in a bright room. What are you looking up? If a poison dart frog is colorful,
No.
I'm glad we both did that same thought. I was like, what does the poison dart frog look like?
No,
It's
no,
like
I
bright
know a
red.
poison
Yeah,
dart
I know
frog
what it
is
looks like.
colorful.
I recall.
are you fact checking if humans aren't afraid of bright colors?
No. There's a word for that in
Oh
biology.
yes.
Yeah,
I don't remember what
I
it
was
is.
synesthesia.
looking up the word.
I don't know.
Synesthesia, no.
Synesthesia is what James has.
Keep telling your story.
Anyway, yeah. So like when you see like somebody in like a bright room with
Yeah.
lots of light and like pink sheets
Mm-hmm.
get whatever happened to them. It's unclear. But like that's really scary. Her feet weren't over the
Yeah.
bed.
You know, a movie that has a similar feeling to that is Midsummer by is it
Or-
Ari Aster.
Yeah.
I mean, it's shot in literally. I think most of the movie is in broad daylight,
Sweden, yeah.
Sweden. They're in like the rolling hills, and they're out in nature. They're wearing vibrant dresses, and that contrast of color and actual, what is actually happening, is can create an uneasy.
It's a little terrifying, yeah.
Yeah,
Aposematism. That's what it's called.
apos.
Apple?
Close.
Spell that for me.
Aposematism. Aposematism.
Correct. I don't know. You're going on to the national spelling bee.
And because you brought up synesthesia, it's blue.
Oh shit.
Anyway,
Good one.
would you guys watch? Would you be interested in more Japanese horror films from here? The Ring.
Isn't
Yeah.
The Ring basically similar to this, more or less?
They were compared
Yeah.
greatly,
Yeah.
and The Ring came out first, or Ringu is the Japanese version of it, because it also got an American remake.
Yeah.
Would you be interested in watching more from Japan?
I-
Because I'll say this first. From what I know, the iceberg of Japanese horror has that first level above the surface is actually pretty small. it immediately gets pretty weird
super deep and
from
weird,
there.
yeah. I'd love to see something modern just to like compare the two.
Yeah.
Because like obviously like old American horror and modern American horror
Very
are
different.
very, very different.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Constantly evolving.
Yeah. So like, it'd be cool to see a modern and compare against that.
I wonder if Japan has that evolution in its horror genre as well. The way Americans have had it for the past, what, like 100 years? Be kind of interesting to see.
There is obviously we've done a lot of found footage movies, so
Yeah.
I can speak to that the most. That there is a massive amount of found footage from Japan. It rivals basically America's own found footage kind of, and not just like the big ones like Paranormal Activity,
Yeah.
but there's a wealth of material.
Is that
there
because
in
it's
Japan.
just so cheap to produce?
I think that's part of what it is, and also given that Japan is a smaller country
Yeah.
with film crews are generally smaller with smaller budgets than
Yeah.
in America. Even your big production stuff tends to rely more on practical effects than on special effects, and so for the most part, a lot of those filmmakers are like independent, like it's them and like a handful of
Literally.
other people.
Yeah. Independent is Quentin Tarantino getting Apple
Yeah.
TV to buy his movie for $50 million
Yeah,
in America.
basically.
Japan, it's like, hey, here's 2 packs of gum
Yeah.
and a video camera.
Yeah.
Go film something.
Basically.
You may or may not get arrested for using a public park.
Satry Brothers. But in terms of the Japan's evolution of horror, I'm sure that for the most part you'll find like the high budget, quote unquote, mainstream Japanese horror
Yeah.
probably borrows heavily in technique and style from American stuff. I wouldn't doubt that at all. I think the biggest difference is just that, I mean, Japan has its own culture and tradition around ghosts
Yeah.
that they maintain.
Yeah.
Similarly to how, like, even here in America, movies that take place in the South are going to treat ghosts differently than movies that take place here, out West.
Mhm.
That's just how ghost narratives evolve.
Yeah. Like it's definitely and I mean that's just true for everything. Like if you take a monster story from South America, it's going to be treated incredibly different just because of how they handle their
Yeah.
local monsters. Where was I going with that?
Or like
Were
something
you
in
going anywhere?
Appalachia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Mothman.
Dude, Mothman, goated.
The hills. The hills are the scariest part.
Mothman, great cryptoid.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Are cryptoids real?
Depends on who you ask.
Mothman is in my heart. Well, I believe in Bigfoot. You can do anything you put your mind to, buddy.
What's that Futurama episode where it's like we need your help to prove that Bigfoot may or may not be real?
Oh, I don't know that. I don't watch Futurama.
Stupid bit.
Bigfoot is real, by the way. Anyway.
Well, yeah, I mean, for audio listeners, I raised my foot.
I think that's our cue to go. I'm just kidding.
So this movie was scary.
I was scared. Yes.
Now, was it specifically Kayako herself, or was it just the
was the
way that this
ambiance.
film
I
built
think it was-
atmosphere?
The
it
vibes were
Yeah, the vibes.
the vibes
'Cause,
were
like,
not
it
Vibes
it.
was-
were rancid.
It wasn't the same type of scary like with like American horror where like I was like edged.
Yeah.
I was like sitting there like freaking out, like I mean, you guys saw me last week where I was like hugging my pillow and stuff, and I was like tense the entire time. I was just like every part of my body, I could feel like the hairs on edge. Well,
There's definitely a rhythm in American films where you kind of get the sense we're safe now, we're not safe now, we're
Yeah.
safe now, we're
Yeah.
not
Yeah,
safe
yeah.
now. This movie, any scene was unsafe.
It also just starts,
Yeah.
which I think is probably the biggest strength of this movie is there's no, 15-minute, let's set up the main protagonist. All right, let's set up the people that they're going to help and like
Yeah.
the locations.
the backstory of why they're being haunted. It's just like, nope, this is it.
To that point, did the plot of this film like
Yeah, I picked up on it.
exist for you guys?
No,
is
yeah,
what
I mean, I
was
got
gonna
it.
say.
It was a little weird, but
Yeah.
like,
It took me a while to get there.
It's understandable that you would have watched a video like the Grudge explained kind of a
because I
video
imagine a lot of people needed it.
because for the most part the actual like backstory to these characters is only developed in future films,
Yeah.
of which there are multiple.
Yeah.
There really isn't anything to go off of here. Like, it just starts. And you can put together woman and child are murdered, house is haunted by their spirits.
Yeah.
But whereas I feel like your inclination is to ask, well, why?
Yeah.
And how does it stop? The movie doesn't even raise those questions itself.
Yeah.
It just haunts people,
Yeah.
and that's it.
And I think that was part of it too. Is that like in American horror, there's always an end. You know, like whether that's everybody
Yeah.
dies and like it's like oh it'll come back at you. It's just like
Yeah.
there's always an attempt to end the problem.
Yeah,
This didn't have an attempt to end the problem.
yeah,
There was at bare minimum an attempt to understand the problem, and even that was stretching it.
yeah.
Like
I also think there's an extent to which sometimes in American horror, the people who are being haunted or victimized are like almost guilty in some way.
Mhm.
Whereas in this film, it's like nobody deserved this
yeah, they're
at all.
just people hanging out.
Yeah,
Oh.
they were just people hanging out. you
If
know?
anything, the first handful of victims were social workers.
Yeah, yeah.
What does that say about the director's feelings towards social work?
Oh man! Oh no! Yikes.
Or what, that they would make him the main character in his movie?
yeah.
Anyway, that was just something that came to my head while I was watching it, where I was like, you know, maybe it's more so in slasher films where you expect to see like, you know, a moral guardianship towards, you know, the characters, like, oh, bad behavior gets punished, quote unquote. A movie like The Conjuring, not so much. Family in that movie was pretty helpless.
Yeah.
Regardless, though. Don't know if you guys had any thoughts or feelings on that comparison.
I mean, no, I feel like you really just nailed kind of like my thoughts towards it, where it was just like it felt so much worse because none of the people deserved it, and there was no way to stop it. It seemed.
They were just trying to do their job.
Yeah, they were just doing their thing.
Yeah.
I mean, like, the first people literally just moved into a house.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which admittedly is what happened in The Conjuring too, but like as well, not too, but you know, like it just bad things happening to good people is not a fun time for anybody.
Yeah, it's a little unforgiving, I think, is
I think that's also part of what made this so scary is that like even people who had like a passing like even just like a baton slap right of
Yeah.
this house gone.
yeah.
The
It's just like-
director's making a commentary to say, don't have friends.
Yeah. It's actually a commentary on how bad the spread of crazy pathogens are going to be in 18 years.
That's your joke, but worse.
Any final thoughts on this movie? Where would you guys rank it? Where would you rank it on Scare Factor, and where would you rank it for Halloween scary movies?
Give it a B on both, like a B plus.
I feel like in terms of like raw fear that this generated, it's pretty high up there. But as like an actual like scary movie, like if somebody's like, let's watch a scary movie, I'm not gonna put on The Grudge for them.
It doesn't feel like a Halloween movie.
Yeah, it really doesn't. It feels like a really creepy,
Yeah.
esoteric experience that's going to stick with you. And like you're gonna be thinking about it later and you'll be like, ugh. Anytime you hear any creaking, your brain is gonna jump to this film.
Oh yeah.
But like, you know, it lacks a lot of the like upfront punch, I think.
Some people prefer that though, no?
True. But you know, you're asking like I'm thinking the average layperson's like, put on a scary movie.
That's
You know,
true.
It's like I wouldn't put on like Hereditary for them. I'd put on like, you know,
Yeah.
something a little bit more
The Conjuring.
less will mess with your brain in ways you're not prepared for.
More just actually scare you.
Insidious.
Yeah, more
Yeah.
of just like,
Yeah, I definitely feel like having not seen this in so long, there were, and also only having seen the American one previously, there were parts of this that I felt like they hit the scare factor, but they didn't hit the fear factor,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like Kayako walking down the stairs was like peak for me, but also, yeah.
Hey, that was pretty
That
good.
was pretty good.
ugh.
Maybe you have a future in sound effect
Yeah.
design.
Yeah.
for horror movies specifically.
The sound
Yeah,
Foley
Foley.
artists or designers, whatever they call them.
But like it was scary to see, but it wasn't like fearful.
Yeah.
If that makes sense,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
like there wasn't that extra oomph for me. A lot of the atmosphere in this film, and specifically anytime the little kids showed up, those were kind of cool moments. Like specifically the parts when you least expected it, because I love that stuff when the thing just shows up in the background. You know, the kids just
I mean, the first time we see him, it's literally like, the main character just looks to her left and is like, "Oh,"
yeah.
There he is.
and the camera goes with her over her shoulder around, and I was like,
And
"Oh,
there-
that's pretty cool."
There were a ton of parts where he's just there.
Yeah,
Just as a gentle reminder of like these characters are screwed.
yeah.
That door scene where even I was like, did you guys see that? Because I was like, I need to know that I'm not freaking out. Like,
I lied, by the way. You were the only one who saw that.
did you really not see it?
No, I saw it.
Because it was a really cool effect. I was like, that was incredible. Anyway,
Yeah.
it was both. I was freaking out and also like, I need you guys to acknowledge how awesome that was.
You're good. You're good. I think I would give this one. I don't know. I would want to give it like I would say a B, but I feel like there's a part of me that wants it to be deserving of an A, and whether that's just because of its place in horror legacy, as one of the first Japanese horror films to cross over to America alongside The Ring. I feel like for that it's kind of deserving of an A, just as a horror film. But in terms of actual scariness, this one was a little dated.
I think it's kind of like The Exorcist, right? Where you're like, you want to rate it high because it means so much to this genre,
It's a staple.
but also it is aged like crap and it's not good anymore.
I disagree. Oh, I disagree with that completely. I think The Exorcist is amazing. It's just not like
Yeah,
I know
I'm
it's
not-
your
it's not a
it's your
jump
pot up with that one.
it's
I'm
not
not
a
taking
jump
that
scare
bait.
movie.
I'm not taking that bait. I disagree, but I'm not going to argue it.
Didn't we all give The Exorcist like S tiers?
I think I didn't give it an S tier. I think I put
Oh.
it like maybe low A or high B. I think
It's an S.
I was kind of just like meh.
The Exorcist is goated. I'm not falling for that.
Bet luck next time. Get better bait, fisherman. All right.
What are we watching next week, James?
That's a good
You're
question.
the curator this month.
Oh, am I?
have
You
You're
got
the
a
only one who watches
suggestion?
horror movies.
Yeah.
I have a small suggestion.
Okay,
I
give
don't
it.
know if I want to say it on camera.
Say it on camera.
Okay.
We'll just cut it out if we don't
Yeah.
do it.
I would like to watch some really bad horror, if that's cool with you guys.
What is bad horror to you?
Oh, so The Exorcist?
No.
Oh, Quiet Place Part 2.
You want to
No.
watch like Birdemic or something?
I was thinking Thanksgiving, but yeah,
Five Nights at Freddy's.
that was good.
That was
Happy Death Day?
I want to watch something like
Scream.
super schlocky
Scream?
and bad.
No,
Let's
not
just watch
Scream,
Scream.
but Scary Movie.
No, scary movie could fit too.
Let's just watch
I
Scream.
don't know about that. I like being scared.
We can do it. Well, I
you-
think like because like
Oh,
we
wait,
talked
you guys
about,
have seen Cabin in the Woods.
yeah, we
I made
talked
you watch
about,
it.
Saw it last year.
Made you watch it.
That's it. Because like we've talked about, like goated American horror first part of the week. We're talking about
Well, that was Scooby Doo.
Scooby Doo. We talked about good American horror. We talked about good Japanese horror here.
And then we're ending the month with a good.
It's not the end of the month.
I know,
have-
but
we
I'm
have
saying
2 more
like
weeks,
we
yeah.
have a couple more weeks till the end of the month.
Yeah. So like I think it'd be funny to have like in the middle of this, just like here's like, because like that's a whole genre of just like really, really, really bad horror movies. And you know the stuff I'm
Like
talking about.
something like the sixth Jason movie, Friday the 13th.
No. Like I'm talking like
Jason Takes Manhattan.
like so bad it's good. Not like,
Like
oh
Plan 9 from Outer Space or something like that?
Mars
Like,
Attacks.
yeah,
Mars
yeah.
Needs Moms?
like just the dumbest
Monsters
stuff.
in the Attic.
Yeah, that
Monsters
kind of
vs.
thing. Yeah.
Aliens.
Yeah, you know, Monsters vs. Aliens. Monster House.
Monster House, that's the one that I was
Yeah,
thinking
there we
of.
go.
Monster
Let's just do
House.
Monster House.
Hey, Monster House was scary as a
Monster
kid.
House
Not anymore.
is,
But like,
Monster House is a Halloween movie.
we could do Monster
Yeah,
House.
let's watch Polar Express. Anyway.
That's a scary movie.
Yeah, I tried watching that one recently. And by recently, I mean
CGI
last
is
year.
rough. CGI is not aged well.
I love that movie.
It's
See,
great.
It's a
that's
very
just-
good
Yeah.
movie. Don't get me
love
wrong,
it.
but yeah, it's
Anyway.
rough. It's rough.
We'll
at
figure
parts.
out what we're watching, and you guys will know when it airs.
Antichrist.
No, nope.
Maybe I just want to break. Have you considered that? Maybe I just want to break 1 week of good sleep.
You'll be all right.
Bye, guys.
You'll be all right.